That sound of, there you
Yeah.
go. We're recording in progress. Um, so um, uh, a couple of our groups that they would not be joining us tonight for one reason or another. So here we are, and maybe we'll be joined by others as we go along. And if not, it's the four of us, and well, it's the three of us actually. I
And we
think
got
I
a
had
secret
some.
attender.
Oh, I think I had some early Cutty Sark that made it feel like four, but I'm not a drinker. When we do the blessing over the wine on Shabbat, we use grape juice. So I'm the biggest teetotaler you can find. So let's take a look at some of our teachings here in chapter 6. I provided the Chabad link if you look at that. It's chapter 6, teaching or Mishnah number 4. And it has a lot to say, and we're going to say some of it. So the teaching is we just started a little piece of this last time and realized we don't have enough time last week to complete it to any form of satisfaction. So we're looking at it freshly today. Um, the teaching is this is the way to master the Torah, to master the faith text of your faith community. How? What are the details of, of being able to master it? It has nothing to do with the content of the knowledge. It has to do with your surroundings. Namely, eat bread with salt. That's almost a diet given in jail, bread with salt or something like that. Drink small amounts of water, sleep on the ground, and live a life of deprivation, and toil ceaselessly in the words of the Torah and the Bible. So that's the best way to acquire the knowledge of your faith text. Eat bread with salt, drink small amounts of water, sleep on the ground, and live a life of deprivation. How do you like that? And and it says, if you do these things, all will be happy and well with you. How do we interpret that? You will be happy in this world, and it shall be well with you in the world to come.
Mm,
That's the major interpretation.
yeah.
If you live that kind of a very frugal, very contained, no luxuries. As you see, the four things that qualify this lifestyle are very simple. A sip of water, a little bread with salt, sleep on the ground, etc. So it means to say, if you're a serious student of the Bible, not necessarily a scholar, but one who studies it daily for lengthy periods of time, this is the best way to do it. So here's a question, and I'm happy at any time to hear your comments. Do you know of any pastor, present pastor, rabbi, imam, a priest that lives this way? Like, do you personally, each of the three of us, now that I count, do you know any faith leader that lives this way?
No.
No,
Same. Robert, you know anybody that lives this way?
no,
No,
no.
no. So forget the people don't live that way, but even the leaders of the people seem to not live that way.
Mm.
Uh, so do they drastically limit their food and drink, sleep on the ground, live a life of distress and duress and deprivation, just so that they can better absorb the teachings of the faith? Do you know anyone with that goal in mind who lives this way? And we seem to have a consensus amongst the three of us. We don't know any faith leader like that.
No.
As a matter of fact, if we were pressed, we could easily give examples of quite the other
This
Yeah,
is
direction,
true.
right?
for sure.
Life of excess and planes and cars and automobiles and money and mansions and stuff like that. So, as a general rule, Judaism, for example, fosters a healthy lifestyle that rejects the extremes of luxury and asceticism. We're somewhere, we try to do a balance. And as we always taught our girls when they were growing up, pretty much most of life is a balance. How do you
Mm.
find the in
Yes.
between between the extremes? So this teaching, which seems to tilt towards frugality and temperance, represents a minority view within Jewish tradition. But we don't find this to be that prevalent to live this kind of a lifestyle in order to be a serious student of the Torah or whatever the faith text is. One of our most respected commentators, the French commentator Rashi from the 11th century, Rashi, explains the teaching to say that even if one is so poor, he gives it a little bit of a twist, even if one is so poor so as to live in abject hardship, as the conditions describe, a little bit of salt, a little bit of bread, sleep on the ground, etc. Even if you're in that kind of a circumstance that is so lacking, nevertheless, this unfortunate person is still obligated to study. That's his twist. It's not so much a prescription as much as it is to say people who are in this circumstance might say to you, I don't have to devote any time to study or religious pursuits. Look at the challenges I'm fighting with. I hardly have any money, a place to live. I'm sleeping on the ground. So Rashi, the great 11th century commentator, says no, poverty does not excuse a person from living a faithful and imbued life. That's an interesting lesson in itself. It doesn't excuse you from. Um, we had a parallel teaching a while back that said, I don't remember who the quote was from. The parallel teaching said something like, "You are not required to study all of it, whatever all of it means. The Torah, the Mishnah, the Talmud, the this, the codes of Jewish law, the Midrash. You're not obligated to study all of it, but neither are you free from tackling it.
Right.
So you find for yourself, you have to find that in between. Nobody else can find that in between
No.
for you. You have to take an honest assessment for yourself and say, okay, can I get closer to this part or that part? But So that's Rashi's way of understanding this teaching, maybe because he also noticed that many faith people don't live that kind of a life. And if they don't, what is this Mishnah or this or this teaching teaching us? What is it telling us? What's another way of looking at this particular teaching? So other views on this teaching will say that it's worth giving up the creature comforts of life, worth giving it up in order to purchase books and ritual items, travel extensively to hear uplifting speakers, and enjoy inspiring experiences. So if you need to give up a lot of your luxury so that you can purchase like a full Jewish library, travel to places that are inspiring with inspiring teachers. If you go on a cruise, hi Scott, how you doing? Scott is now connected to the audio, only because I can read under his little square.
Mhm.
Yeah, there, especially around Passover time, there are many cruises, people who don't want to prepare their home. Scott, how you doing? People who don't want to prepare their home for Passover. There's a lot of stuff to clean and make sure your house is unleavened, whatever that means. So they take a cruise. They take a cruise. They put their family on a cruise for 7, 8 days. It's not inexpensive. But who's on the cruise? Rabbi this woman scholar, a glowing lineup of scholars that anybody would want to have access to, and you've got access to them for 7, 8 days on a boat. So this teaching would say, it's a lot of money, but maybe it's worth dialing down your luxuries so that you can make those kind of experiences happen for you. How will your fortune end up? You'll be sleeping on the floor. You'll be having bread with salt. You have a little sip of water here and there, but it's worth giving up all that luxury in order to have at your fingertips, at your access, the great minds. Now, you would say to me, the great minds, I can watch them on YouTube. Why do I need to go take a $15,000 cruise or whatever? It's probably on the low end. with my family. I watch these lectures on YouTube. I don't need to be there while they're having their omelet in the morning and listen to them. Yeah, okay, you could. Is it the same as being there, having access to Q&A? Rabbi, I was wondering about, is that the same as watching a YouTube? Generally not. So there is a point to be made that it may be worth giving up a lot of the luxury so you can have these elevated kinds of experiences. Maybe it's worth the sacrifice of extravagance and excess and overindulgence in order to bask in God's glory and holiness by going to things, buying books, etc., going to hear lectures. Interestingly, many of the Jewish sages and respected teachers did in fact live a frugal life, and I pointed this out at the tail end of last week, whether for de-emphasizing material things and focusing on spiritual matters, or because their personal finances afforded so very little. And I pointed out the tail end of last week that you can go to many great, great sages who are living today. Who are they? They're in their 70s and up. You know, I don't think you can be a sage at 35. But, somebody who's looked up to, venerated, respected, etc. Many of these sages who live in our day, Jerusalem, other cities, you walk into their apartment, it is bare bones. Not all of them. Some of them want to have a nice surrounding so that when people come to visit, they feel like a somebody, in a nice place. But many of them live just bare bones, no luxuries, a couple of beds, a table, a chair, a bathroom, dining room, books, 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 and books, and books. And books cost something too, you know. So many sages lived and still do live that way. And even today, you'll find that where they just have not even a hint of luxury, but they are living exactly the way that the Mishnah or the teaching describes. So here's an interesting anecdote, and then I'll pause if anybody has any comments, questions, things they'd like to mention. There's a story told of a head of a Jewish academy of higher learning that we call a yeshiva, who went to raise funds for the purchase of a living facility for students living far away. He's looking to fundraise for a dormitory for his students and to seek money to properly feed and clothe the young scholars. He approached a very wealthy person to ask for a major gift to cover the expenses. The wealthy person asked this teaching to try and turn down the request by saying, "Oh, my good rabbi, does it not teach in Pirke Avot, in the Ethics of the Fathers, that frugality and paucity are the traits that cause an intimacy with God and his holy words? Does it not say to eat bread with salt, drink in a restrained manner, sleep on the ground, live a life of hardship? The way your student life now is exactly fulfilling that teaching. So you want more?" That was his way to try to get out of donating. I'm putting in your face the exact teaching that you study. Why are you coming to me? They are studying in the exact correct atmosphere to gain all the spirituality that the Mishnah teaches they should gain living that kind of a lifestyle. Here is where the rabbi turns this teaching on its head. And I always like this teaching. The rabbi appeared ready to respond to this anticipated objection. And he said to the generous, soon to be hopefully generous man, the big donor, "You read the teaching as a declarative statement. I read it as an interrogative statement." So there's a big difference between declarative, this is the way it should be, a little bit of salt, a little bit of bread, sleep on the floor, blah, blah. He says to the donor, the potential donor, I read it as a question. And here comes the way to read it as a question. Is this the way to master the Torah and the Bible? Must you eat bread with salt? Must you drink just drops of water? Must you sleep on the floor? Must you, as a student trying to connect to your Father in heaven, live a life of deprivation and hardship? Must you sacrifice this much in order to get that?
Hmm.
See, that's not declaring. That's now he's asking it in the form of a question. So Jeopardy goes all the way back to that time, asking it in the form of a question. Is this the way my students need to live? With this frugality and paucity? Must it be that way? Well, imagine the stunned silence after such a heart-stirring plea. Does it have to be this way for my students? As the punchline to the story has it, the wealthy person opened his heart and wallet and gave most generously. Yeah, that's very inspiring to me. I was expected during my rabbinic days in America to do fundraising for the synagogue, different aspects, different programs. You can't find a worse fundraiser than me. I would get the Academy and Emmy Award, Tony Award for the worst. I would get the Lifetime No Achievement Award. Really pitiful, pitiful, pitiful.
I
It's
think
not
I'd be
me.
second.
Is that you're the second worst one?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not me. It's just not me. Yeah, yeah, but tell him that you're doing him a favor by involving him in your enterprise. Very nice. You do that. And yet I worked with rabbis who used to, the joke is they used to work for the Tropicana Orange Company, that every time the automatic juice squeezer squeezed every drop out of that half orange, they would send that rabbi to squeeze more out of it after the automatic juicer squeezed them out of the last drops. So I worked with rabbis like that, and I was in awe of their prowess. And they came back. It takes too long to describe their success. Huge, millions, gabillions. And they raised it. They saw it like to them, it was a challenge and a mission. It was a hunt. It was a hunt. But of course, they weren't keeping the money, as far as I know. No, that was their enterprise. They wanted people to join them. So some people are extremely successful, and some people are fundraising duds. So I'm number one, and Patrick is number two. Do we have a 3 and 4, or do we have any? No, Scott, you're no. Well, look at the money you raised for that hotel behind you. Wow, that's amazing. You must have been to several potential donors, and they agreed with your mission.
I agree. Yes, no,
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
beautiful, and it's
It's
even dark
gorgeous.
outside. Wait,
It's,
never mind. All right, see, it's dark outside.
it is.
Yes.
No, it's
Actually, I think Ryan should be there anytime now.
yeah. He sent me a message yesterday. He's ready to get onto the plane last night. So
Right, he's landed. Luke and Peyton picked him up at the airport, and they've already brought him to Jerusalem, and they've already eaten, and yeah,
wonderful, great. I hope we can connect while he's here. That would be
I
great.
do too.
Yeah. Okay, so let me pause here. I mean, that's the end of that teaching, but you see how it can be read in different lights. What, this is how we have to educate our kids with such paucity? Or, as Rashi, the great commentator, put it from France 1,000 years ago, it means to say also that the people who don't have a lot and could claim, I can't put my time into study and religious pursuits. I'm having so many financial challenges. No, even you have to be involved. That's no excuse. Even you have to be involved. So
Yes.
before we move on to chapter 6, Mishnah teaching 6, any comments, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would like to say that it
Okay.
really makes a lot of sense to me because the purification and the knowledge of Torah, you learn all of that knowledge, um, not for your own personal edification, but to spread God's love to anyone that you encounter in your life. So I think the more knowledge you have and reading and then studying and then applying it, it's a purpose for that. And God uses us, just in my opinion, He uses us to be like a type of ambassador for Him
Yes.
through His Word. And those things the edification part, I really believe in. It's just not for you.
Right.
I think it's for the people that we can encounter, and those people encounter, and seeing God's love in Torah. And it's all through Torah, and it gives you a firm foundation. So it makes sense to me. And I
Okay.
think that's a very good saying that Rashi was a sage or
He,
prophet
wa-
or,
well, we seem to not know a whole lot about him. He
yes,
was a vintner. He grew grapes into wine. He was a wine person.
yes,
Um, e- every tractate of the Talmud, 2,711 pages, have
yes.
commentary by Rashi in every printed volume of the Talmud.
Mm,
Every.
yes.
The entire five books of Moses and other works, accompanied by the words and commentary of Rashi. So I guess I would call him a sage.
Yes.
He
Okay. Well,
he has been deemed indispensable in being able to understand the Torah and the Talmud and other works upon which he comments. These are not his own commentaries, but he weaves sources to make a point or to clarify something, to define something better, sharpen something.
yes.
Yeah, that's what Jewish people are constantly involved with Torah or Talmud and Rashi. He's on every page, printed on every page since hundreds of years.
Well, that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah,
And Torah has been around for thousands of years, and the youth, each generation learns more, spreads more, and that keeps it firm and strong. I think
I agree
that's a
with you. Yeah,
wonderful thing, and I like the way Rashi says that because it gives other people who have the ability to learn and study uh, to just not hold on to it, share it. And that goes back to the purpose, man. I mean, there
yeah.
are 8 billion people in the world today, thereabout. So it's like what's happening with Torah is spreading, especially in these troubled times. You know, the times today are a little bit different. And when we can stand up on Torah, it makes us firmer in our faith and spreading the word.
Very well said. I don't know if we covered this teaching. It's a teaching in Pirke Avot. It
Yes,
says, if you have learned a lot of Torah, and by extension, as we've been saying throughout our sessions together, by extension, whatever your faith text, your basic faith text is, if you have learned a lot of the Torah, don't hold yourself so high in your personal esteem. Why? Why? Because for this you were created.
mm,
You were
yes,
created for it. So now that you're fulfilling your purpose of creation, don't walk around with your thumbs under your suspenders. Oh, aren't I fantastic and wonderful and great for the scholarship that I have? Tone it down, buddy. Tone it down a few dials on the volume knob. No, this is what you were created for. And even though we may have a difference of opinion about what does it mean to spread the good word,
yes.
the bottom line is that's that we understand that is the purpose of creating a world community connected by morals, values, ethics, etc. And to hold it on to keep it for yourself, that's not what it was meant to do. It wasn't meant to water your own garden.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
No, it's a good thought. I appreciate you mentioning it. Yes,
But can I ask
Scott, you
you a
wanted to say
question?
something? I see a hand.
I've listened. Do you know David Nakrutman?
Yes, not per. I've heard him a few times. I know who he is.
I've heard him talk a few times, and he said something that really struck me, and I've heard it since from other people when he talked about the concept in the Jewish faith of tikkun olam, of
Yes.
repairing the world, and just would like to hear your thoughts on that, because I think that's probably in some way linked to what we've just discussed.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
Hope I'm not stretching things too far, but it just intrigued me when I heard it because I think it's a beautiful concept.
So it's a beautiful concept. There is a prayer that the Jewish community recites 3 times a day. It's a 2-paragraph prayer. Some say it was written by Joshua. Some say it was written by the men of the Great Assembly. Some say it was written by others, whatever. In that prayer, called in Hebrew Aleinu, the Aleinu, it is upon us to praise God, etc. That phrase is actually in there. And why do we do what we do? In order to repair the world, but then the 2 words after repair the world in Hebrew is to repair the world through the kingdom of heaven.
Wow.
In other
Yes.
words, just to repair the world isn't necessarily Jimmy Carter's building houses. Not that I'm belittling that. He did great stuff there. I don't think he read the Bible correctly, but that's a different story. Um, yeah, so you can repair the world physically with your toolbox, etc. But the real challenge and mission is to repair the world using the kingdom of God as the agent of repairing the world.
Mm.
So if you're repairing the world in a way that has nothing to do with religion, faith, etc., you haven't really hit the nail on the head with that, if you know
No.
what I'm saying. So the idea generally comes from the early chapter of Genesis, where it says, I think it's at the beginning of chapter 2, that God created the world. And then at the end of that paragraph, it says in Hebrew, la'asot, which means to continue to do. So
Right.
God created a world not necessarily in a state of perfection, but he expects mankind to complete towards perfection
Right.
using the agency of the kingdom of God, the kingdom of
Right.
heaven. So in that sense, we're repairing. Our job is to, one of the jobs is to repair the world, because it is, in Hasidic thought, they would say, well, the world is broken. Others would
Yes.
say it's not broken, it's just not in its full blossom. Others would say it needs repair. It needs fixing, it needs a touch, it needs a something. You know, but that's pretty much the origin, and it has been incorporated, that tikkun olam, repairing of the world. Again, like I say, has been incorporated into this prayer that we say 3 times a day.
Right.
So it's not a small reference.
And how would you put Tikkun Olam into practice in a practical way?
Well, one way, since October the 7th, when the war began, the amount of creative kindnesses that occurred regarding hostages, getting them released, regarding wives whose husbands were in the reserves for 300 plus days, and they've got a
Mm.
house filled with 6 kids, and it's just them. And
Mm.
the hundreds and hundreds of initiatives to help repair that kind of uh,
Right.
tough situation. That would be
Right.
one way.
Right.
Being charitable is another way to repair the world,
Yes.
just to kind of rebalance those who have and those who don't have.
Right.
Um, to teach, to teach great ethics, morals, values
Right.
for those who don't either lack it or never heard of it, never studied it.
Mm.
That's another way to repair the world.
Mm.
Um,
The the old adage of how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, you know?
yeah,
Uh, the way I've always interpreted that and
good,
other
good.
similar minded thoughts is you take care of your world, the people and the things in your life, and train them to do that. And it slowly but surely just spreads
Yes,
to it's nonstop. It's like adding yeast to flour and water. I mean,
yes,
it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And as long as you keep multiplying yourself into other people and teaching them to do the same thing, it can't stop.
yeah,
Uh, it's a momentum, and so you don't have to put the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're just the weight that's already been put on your shoulders is what you're responsible for,
Mm.
and just training the people around you to do the same.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Mm. Mm.
So my visual for that is, I think if you go to any gift shop in any airport, they have these little packages wrapped in cellophane. And what it is, it's a sponge,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So what do you do with the sponge? You unwrap it. If you drop even the tiniest drop anywhere in that sponge, it begins to, before you know it, this little square is now this very usable sponge. So that's kind of my visual for, do whatever you can so that it will spread like the sponge. You be the drop of water so that the sponge can grow and grow and grow. Now, of course, the sponge has limitations, right? It can't be bigger than it is. But for me, I think of that image that, yeah, we are obligated. In Judaism, certainly we're obligated that what if you, we didn't cover this teaching, but maybe we'll go back at some point. It said if you know an aleph, so an aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The teaching is if you know an aleph, you teach the aleph. It's the only letter you know. But you have somebody who's not familiar with any of the Hebrew letters, just teaching them that aleph uh, is already, let's say, worthwhile. You've done some. Is it significant? I don't know. But it points to the obligation that whatever you know, you have an obligation to teach. Whatever you know, you have an obligation to teach. And this is something we say before the morning Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is one. That our obligation is lilmod, in Hebrew to study, lilamed, and to teach. We're obligated to know, to study, but not for yourself, not to water your little garden, but also lilamed. Once you know, you have an obligation to teach it. So that's intro to Tikkun Olam 101.
Thank you.
Is that,
The
was that
Going
satisfying?
back to what you just said, Rabbi, if you fill up a cup with water and let it sit there, it'll get stagnant and rotted. You got to constantly be moving that information, that water through the cup to keep it fresh and renewed. And it's the same thing with knowledge and with with understanding and teachable moments. You've
Good,
got
good.
to, you've got to keep it moving, otherwise it gets stagnant and you start to stink.
Mm.
He said carefully wordedly. Yeah, you do start to stink, I guess. You've heard of the Gutenberg Bible?
Yes.
I don't know where it is now. Is it Smithsonian? I have no idea where it is. It's not in my house. Just you should know.
I've heard of it, but I don't know where it is.
Is it Smithsonian? I have no idea. I read that there's a guard right near the Gutenberg Bible, and his job every day is to turn one page. Exactly for Scott, what you just said. Keep it fresh, keep it not getting moldy in it, keep it lively in a sense. So every morning you change. I hope he's got other jobs too. I mean, that takes what, 5 seconds? What does he do the rest of the day? But that's what they do. It could be apocryphal. Maybe that doesn't really happen at all. But this is what I read. Every day they refluff the Gutenberg Bible and turn one page. Okay. Any other thoughts or comments on what we've been discussing so far? If not, I'm happy to move on to the next teaching. Any other?
I think it's in Germany, Rabbi. It says it
Oh,
was
1450s or something?
yeah, I'm just reading on Google, but I think it's in Mainz in Germany. It was press printed.
Does it say what year?
Um,
That was like 1453 or something.
1456. You're
Ta-da!
right.
Not bad. Okay. Yeah. All right.
It says out of either 158 or 180 copies that originally printed. 49 survive in at least substantial portion. 21 of them in entirety.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're
And
thought to
now
be
it's in the
among
city
the
of
world's
Mainz. It's
most
Mainz.
valuable books.
It's in the city of Mainz in Germany now.
Well, this appears so, yes, if I'm reading it correctly.
Okay. It's a well-named city for those people who claim it's theirs. It's Mainz. No, it's Mainz.
Yeah,
Get your hands off and that's Mainz. It's
yeah,
mine.
yeah,
Just calm down. We'll get you another copy. We'll get you
yeah,
the Cliff Notes. We'll get you the Cliff Notes.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
Okay.
So again, now we're on chapter 6, Mishnah or teaching number 6. So don't let the first introductory word scare you. The Torah is acquired by 48 virtues. Meaning, if you wish to be a student of the Torah, the Bible, whatever your primary faith text is, there are 48 steps or conditions or types of behavior soil, from which will emerge a soulful, spiritual, inner growth. So the reason I said don't be scared is, no, we're not going to cover every one of the 48 because we'll be here till Passover Seder. So I'm just going to highlight a few. Like, what does it mean to create a spiritual soil? What do you need to create a spiritual soil from which will emerge a spiritual personality? So let's take a look at just a few of them. Number one, this is not the order in which not necessarily the order in which it's listed in the Mishnah, but here are a few of the teachings. One is constant learning, being curious, wanting to know, reviewing what you've learned, having a thirst for new knowledge. That's like a very important stepping stone to being a spiritual person, acquiring the Torah or whatever one's faith text is through constant learning, constant curiosity, constant thirst to have to know even more and more. So they tell this anecdote, and I don't remember about which yeshiva or which rabbi. Somebody came in and asked the head of the yeshiva, I'm looking for somebody for my daughter to get married to. Who is the best student you have? Who's the best student you have in this yeshiva? And so the rabbi says, oh, it's this gentleman in the corner. And the best. So he decides to sit in on the class where the best yeshiva student is, just to see what's going on in that class. And it seems to him that every time the rabbi of the class is asking a question, many of the other students are answering and raising their hands and giving decent answers to the question. And he notices that this young man who's the best in the yeshiva, he notices that when he gives an answer, it's not always accurate. It's a little off. He doesn't know it that well, and he's a little perplexed. So he goes over to the head of the yeshiva and he says, "Let me ask you something with all due respect. I was looking for the best student in this yeshiva. Just by a cursory glance and listening to the class, he doesn't seem to be the best. I have to be honest with you, he does not seem to be the best." So he says to the rabbi, by what measure do you feel he's the best? Because clearly from what I've seen and what I've heard, it doesn't seem to be the best. So the rabbi says, I'll tell you what makes him the best in the yeshiva. He is a seeker. He's a yearner. And he's a searcher. So he may not know the answers to a lot of questions, but his desire for knowledge is insatiable. In Hebrew, it's called the mevakesh. Mevakesh is somebody who's always asking for more, somebody who wants to know more. And that's what makes him the best in the yeshiva. Nobody has an insatiable appetite for knowledge like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that, in a sense, is one of the rungs on the ladder, if you will, of constantly learning, reviewing, interested to know more, want to know more, a thirst for knowledge. From that soil can emerge a spiritual personality. Go ahead, Patrick.
That reminds me of something that I've heard, that it's a Jewish thing to ask lots of questions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. On the Passover night at the Seder,
That's true.
if nobody's asked any questions, that's about as failure as my fundraising. With everything on the table, with all the symbols, the symbolism, the bitter herbs, the matzah, the this, everything there, and all the things that we read in the Haggadah in the Passover book, and nobody's asked anything. Yikes. I would close up shop right in the middle of the meal and say it was nice to have everybody go home. I mean, I wouldn't be that crass about it, but yeah. There's even a Yiddish phrase, two Yiddish phrases that oppose each other. One Yiddish phrase is "frek nicht shilas," which means we don't ask questions. How come we did this and this and this ritual? So in the early 1920s, 30s, when the parents themselves were not necessarily so educated, our best answer would be, we don't ask questions. Just do it. Just do it. We don't ask questions. On the other side, a competing Yiddish phrase is von a good kasha nicht gestorben. Nobody died from a good question. Nobody passed away from asking a good question. So you kind of have those, don't ask anything. On the other hand, ask everything. Ask, ask, ask.
Can I tell you a story?
Sure.
I'm an accountant, and many years ago, when I was training to be an accountant, one of the guys who was lecturing me was a Jew, and he talked about his Jewishness. And I asked him a question, and he made the very same point, that it's a Jewish thing to ask a question. But then he said it's a Jewish thing to answer a question with a question.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Right.
I don't know whether that's,
It sometimes can be annoying. Why do we have matzah and Passover? What, we shouldn't? You see how limited that satisfaction is with such an answer. Well, we shouldn't. Yeah, I don't know where that comes from, but again, it's a layer of question heaped upon another layer of question. I personally am a big believer in the second one. Nobody ever died from a good question.
Yes, yeah.
So keep asking and keep being inquisitive and yearning and learning and seeking. So
can I tell you another story? We
Okay.
a group of Christians, we were meeting this many years ago, and we invited a Jewish rabbi to come and talk to us. And he was very good. And one person asked a question: do you believe that the temple in Jerusalem is going to be rebuilt? And he didn't answer the question. He said, how is it that a bunch of Christians want to know, is the temple going to be rebuilt? So it's a Jewish thing to answer a question with a question.
There you go.
And he never really answered the question.
There's a prime example. There you go. You should know, by the way, that the Reform Jewish movement, Reform, has in their prayer book no mention of a third temple, of a rebuilding of Jerusalem, sacrifices. Very in contradistinction to Orthodox and conservative Judaism.
Oh, wow.
Orthodox has the strongest and many references to, dear God, help us to rebuild the temple, etc. That it should be rebuilt and remain, forever, unlike the other two. Conservative is pretty much there, maybe not so much the sacrificial system will reinstitute sacrifices. There are those and there are those who teach that. Reform excised all of that from their prayer book.
And do I interpret from what you're saying that you disagree with their stance?
Yeah, as an Orthodox Jew and as an Orthodox rabbi, that is very heavily part of my theology.
Yeah. Right.
The first two standing for 410, 420 years. Why? Many different reasons given in the Talmud, spiritual reasons why they were destroyed, and
Right.
now mentioned several times in prayer that we yearn for the rebuilding of the temple.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I won't get into it now, but during the Seder and Passover, there are many things we do, symbolisms, various kinds of foods, ceremonies that we do during the Seder that highlight our anticipation of wanting that third temple.
You couldn't
So
just give
it's
us a
not
hint
it's
of
not
that.
even, brushed under a rug. It's like marquee. There's a
Wow.
marquee message throughout the,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Oh,
Wow.
have I got stuff for you? Okay, so that was one. Yes, Robert, what do you want to say?
Uh, Rabbi, along that line, what's the significance of a red heifer? I've been hearing about that, but is
Ah.
there any particular significance, especially nowadays?
Yes, I dated a couple before I met my wife, and if that could be excised from this recording, that would be great.
No, don't.
Um,
It's very funny.
it's a good line. But if Rivka, my wife, were sitting here, she would go, but I can understand that. In a nutshell, which some people have described me that way. In a nutshell, um, the ashes of the red heifer was disqualified by certain uh, body wounds or being lame or limp or sick or whatever. It had to be all red. Even one white hair on it disqualified it from being a red heifer. It was offered, and the ashes of it would be used in the atonement of various kinds of sins. The ashes of it. According to our tradition, there were either 8 or 9 red heifers throughout our history, some of the jars of which were kept in the Holy Ark, in the Holy of Holies, in the temple in Jerusalem. Uh, and the tradition says that once we get the 10th one, that is unqualified, usable for this purpose, that will be the beginning of uh, the rebuilding period.
Wow.
Mhm.
Because right now the rabbis say we're all in a state of contamination, whatever that means.
Right.
And in order to alleviate that, you need the ashes of the red heifer. Once we've discovered a red, some people say they've discovered it. I can't say it's headline news across um, a lot of Jewish periodicals or websites. It's not. There are some who really believe it's very strongly, and some who their day can pass beautifully without it. But once it's there, we believe that that will be a reaffirmation of God's desire to want us to build a third temple.
Mm.
How is that a symbol? Because he's made a red heifer that's unqualified red heifer. He's made it available, and that must be a sign that he's
Well,
ready to have
let
us
me ask you
rebuild.
along that same line also. So, are they raising cattle to see if one of them would be a red heifer, or would it be
I believe
some
whoever
divine
the
intervention of some sort, or
yeah,
how does that work?
whoever the they is, there are those
Yes,
that are.
I
Some
see.
claim they have one or two.
Oh,
But I use the word claim because I really don't know enough about it. I haven't read enough about it. But there are many Jewish people, many, I don't know how many, Jewish people who follow that news daily on various websites. Oh, we found one in, you know, some would say, well, if you found it in any place outside of Israel, is what did you find? A red cow that somebody painted, that kind of thing. Some say, no, it's only if you find it in Israel. And there are many opinions about it.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we have time for one more rung on this ladder of how to build soil from which emerges a spiritual personality. Another one that's mentioned is careful listening. Scott, did you want to say something? Is
No,
that
I'm
your
sorry.
is that your hand in your square, or is that a? I mean, you want to say
Yeah.
something? There,
No, no, I'm good.
there's a white hand in your square. And I'm not sure what that means.
Oh,
Are you a handyman?
nope. I am a
Okay,
handyman,
I
but
can live with it.
no, I don't know why.
I can live with it.
I don't know why my hands
Okay.
raised. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Careful listening is another part of this enterprise. Feeling that what is said or taught is important to hear and somehow relevant to real life. So don't be dismissive as you listen. You say, "Oh, you're listening. Ah, come on, I'm not buying that stuff. Please, please, tell, give that to another audience. This is try not to be dismissive. Listen carefully to the lessons of others, because everyone at every age and every experience can teach us something, whether it's simple or profound. So another element of this soil, spiritual soil from which emerges a spiritual personality, is the ability to listen carefully to others, to give respect to others' teachings, because everybody's got something they could teach. Every religion has something that they can inspire with. I may not believe it, I may not buy it, I may not practice it, but to totally X out what you're practicing can't do that. It's got to have some value of whatever size, but I can't exit or dismiss it or delete it. Next one we'll do, and with that we will end. Another element to put in the soil from which will emerge a spiritual personality is awe and reverence. Awe and reverence. To have the deepest respect for the teachers and the mentors, clergy and scholars, specialists in a field, for God and his awesome world, for the wonders and miracles that we see and experience on a daily basis. Somebody from Baltimore, where we made Aliyah from, wrote a book, something entitled something like, "Is There Any More Awe?" Did it disappear? A sense of, I don't mean watching a magician who can produce X from his Y. You know, there's a canary. Where did that come from? Wow, from underneath the hat. And then there's another canary. Not necessarily that kind of an awe, but just to stand back and so I have a red recliner. I've had it for 25 years, and not not a screw has fallen from it after 25 years of use. Bought it in some furniture store in Baltimore, very low price, and it's working as good as it did the first day. Why do I mention that? Because we've repositioned a lot of our furniture so that when I sit in my chair and when Rivka sits on the sofa, we can both see the view from our porch, which is a stunning drop-dead view of the Judean hills. And every time we look at it, we go, I can't believe we live here. Do we say that every day? But often, oh, oh my God, look at the sunset out there. Look at this. It's awesome. It's awesome. So that's another ingredient in the soil from which will emerge a spiritual personality. When you can summon that awe and reverence for the world around you, for God, for the teachers, for the students, that they're all involved in a very worthwhile and holy enterprise. If you find room in your heart and in your mind to summon that awe and reverence and wow, if you wow yourself a few times a day and say, oh my God, look at. So every Monday I teach in a girl high school. I have to go from Efrat to Beit Shemesh. There are views along the way, right? They're drop dead views. Amazing, incredible, awesome. Patrick, you were either breathing or you wanted to say something. I mean,
No,
breathing
it's
is
my
good.
wife. She wants me to help her. She's dropped out of Rivka's class and she wants me to go and help her get back in there.
All
She's
right.
listening
Well,
to your wife, and she's. I'll be back in a second, Rabbi.
okay, sure.
Sorry.
No problem. Yeah. So I think we'll end with that teaching because it's at the hour. Any thoughts about these two aspects so far? Three, constant learning, desire to know, insatiable appetite for knowledge, careful listening, don't X anybody out. Everybody's got something to offer. Awe and reverence when you can summon that easily. These three out of 48, and we're not going to cover 48. We're going to cover about three or four others next week, God willing. This is what is recommended to be in the soil to produce an emerging spiritual personality. So any comments, thoughts, questions before we leave Patrick in the lurch because he's going to come back and see nobody. Or what can you do?
I'm
Cover
thinking that
anything, Scott?
I'm thinking that so far it seems as if to wrap that up is humility. If you stay humble, then you don't you don't have to fight to listen to somebody. You're intrigued to listen to other people. If you're humble, then you know you don't know everything, so you're okay with learning and studying more, and a sense of awe, humility. I mean, realizing that you haven't seen everything, you
Right,
haven't done everything,
right.
and that there are things out there that will strike an awe in you. And you're right. I mean, Judea, Samaria, all of those areas are just phenomenal. Elam Marais. I mean, yeah, they're just awe inspiring.
Yeah, awe-inspiring. You get the feeling that somebody bigger than all of us carved this out. Somebody bigger than all of us combined carved out this piece of property here. Yeah. So last thing I'll mention is I have a study partner that we study every Sunday morning. He's one of my three, and I'm very blessed to have them. We're studying a work right now that has like 30 chapters on humility, as if that were the panacea is not the right word, as if that were like the very basis, like you just said, Scott, you said it very well. If you've developed a sense of humility, all of these things come almost naturally. You know, you don't have to fight to acquire these traits. They just emerge. If you're humble, there's not a lot of work to be done, except on the humility and having deeper humility. Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot more to say, but we don't have time to say it now. Anyway, thank you so much for being part of our gathering today. I really appreciate it. We've been recording, so this will be available for those who weren't able to make it today. I hope you have a good week. If any of you do anything related to Purim, have a great time. It's a Monday night, Tuesday, and just be well and be happy, healthy, and safe. Safe is good.
Y'all,
Safe is a big
y'all
blessing.
also, with
Thank
all
you.
the impending craziness coming up, y'all,
A lot of
shalom.
craziness.
Yep.
A lot of crazy. And if anybody needs a fundraiser,
Don't come to you.
don't call me.
Oh, me.
I can be more a fun raiser than a fund raiser. But
Very
funds,
good.
forget it. Anyway, blessings to all of you
Okay.
and your
All right.
families.
Shalom,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
See
Shabbat
you
shalom.
soon.
Be well, everybody.